Welcome back to our Altium lecture series. Now we're going to start talking about updating our printed circuit board from our schematic files. Remember, on our schematics we have footprints associated with the parts. I'm just going to highlight my op amp here, double click it. Under models you'll see footprint. If I just hit edit, it'll show me a picture of the footprint. Here's a picture, that round can we saw previously. I'm going to hit OK and OK. I'm not going to change anything. What I want to do now is just update my printed circuit board from the parts I currently have. After we get them on there, we may want to make some edits and change them. So come to your top toolbar. It'll say Design, Update PCB Document, and here's the PCB document we have. Now it's possible to have more than one printed circuit board. You might try 2 or 3 different layouts, and this will let you select which one you want to update inside the same project. I'll click Update, and here's the engineering change order, and here's the functions that Altium wants to do. It wants to add components, wants to add nets, a class, and a room. I'm going to leave the room there to show you what the room is, and then we'll delete it. So first I can validate changes if I want to see if everything looks right. Altium gave me all green checks here, so it thinks it can do it. I'm going to tell it execute changes. Altium will go through, do the calculations, get the footprints, move them over to our printed circuit board. And I can close. Now this black area currently represents my printed circuit board. This colored block here is our room. As long as my room is highlighted, you see what I did? I just clicked once inside this colored block. That highlights my room. If I left mouse button down and leave it down, I can move the entire room. So I'm moving everything at once right inside that room. And I'll just park it down here somewhere. Not real important where, but right there's good. Now if I want to move an individual part, here's my whole room highlighted. I'll left click again, my room is not highlighted. I can put my mouse on the part, hold the mouse button down, and move that part around. So that'll show you how to move the part, move the room. The room won't be useful for us in this project, and we'll have a video a little bit later in the series that'll explain what rooms are and why we use them when we need to, but for this project we won't need it. So I'm going to highlight my room, hit the delete key, room is gone. No, I don't need it. Now every time I do an update, I'm going to save here, every time I do an update from my schematic, I'll do it again, update PCB document, you'll see it wants to add the room again. I have an option, I can just uncheck it so it won't add it, tell it to execute, I won't have it added, that works fine. Or it's possible to change it in my settings so that it never has the room. It's up to you. If you want to change your settings, you can go to Design, Project Options, Class Generation, at the top here, Class Generation, Generate Rooms, and hit OK. Now from now on, when I do my Design, Update PCB, it finds nothing that needs to be changed because it's not going to add the room anymore, and I've already put all my parts there. Alright, so let's go back to our PCB document. Now as I move my mouse around, you'll see down here on the very bottom left corner I have X and Y coordinates, and when I move my mouse it'll tell me where my mouse is. 2880 by 3255. Now these are in mils. A mil is 1/1000th of an inch. If you want to change to using the metric system, you can go to View, Toggle Units, and you'll see down here now it's millimeters. Right? I'm in millimeters. I can also hit the Q key. When I hit Q, I went back to mils, Q, millimeters, Q, back to mils. Whichever you're comfortable with, it doesn't really matter. We'll have a couple of things we're going to want to do now. I'm looking at my parts here, and I see that I have my B and C connectors. Here's that round can for my op amp, not the footprint I want to use. These capacitors are physically a lot bigger than I need, so let's make some edits and see how we can make those edits. I'll do a save all. I'll go back to my schematic here, and the first thing I'm going to double click my op amp again, and here's footprints, right? I'm going to tell it I want to add, and it says what kind of model do I want to add? A simulation, a signal integrity? No, I want to add a footprint, so I tell it footprint. Then it'll say PCB model footprint. Which model? I'm going to browse. Here's our miscellaneous devices internal library footprint view. You see all these different footprints. Now the particular footprint I want is called a DIP 8. So I'm going to come down here. Here's a DIP 4. DIP stands for dual inline package. So here's a dual inline 12. You see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins. Inline and dual means I have 2 sets. So here's a DIP 8. This would be the package you probably were used to with your 741 op amp. So I'm going to change my footprint to this DIP 8, tell it OK, OK, save it, and now if I go back to my design update PCB document, you'll see it wants to change component footprint. I'm changing from my round can to my DIP 8. I'll tell it execute the changes, close. There's my little DIP 8. Remember, while I have my component with my left mouse button down, I can drag it around. With my space bar, I can rotate it. So here's my DIP 8. Now we want to make some more changes. Look at these giant caps. We don't want these caps to be so big. So let's make some changes. I'll save my PCB, go back to my schematic. And this is where, like I said previous, when we were placing parts, once you're used to Altium a little more, when you place that part, you can change the footprint to start with and place your parts with the correct footprint to start with. So here I'm going to double click this part. I'm going to add a footprint, tell it OK, go back to my browser, and let's see what we have. There's a small radial 0.1. The 0.1 means 0.1 inch from here to here. So I'm going to tell it yes, that's what I want, radial 0.1. And I'll do this cap. I'll do the same thing. See, it started as a radial 0.3. I'm going to add it, my footprint. I'm going to browse. I'll drag this down to the radial 0.1. OK. And I have 2 more of those same caps here. So let's add footprint, browse, and we'll see here surface mount parts. Let's just make this one, let's say an 0805. An 0805, what those numbers mean is it's 80 thousandths long and 50 thousandths wide. That's what those numbers mean for us. You know, I'll make that a surface mount part. Why not? Having a surface mount part in there, we already have one in there as our output resistor is a surface mount. But this will help us learn some more things that we'll want to know about circuit boards. Now the only thing I haven't changed these 2 big caps. They're a little big. So let's add a footprint for those. Let's see what we have here. Big ones there. Now we could also make those polarized. If I highlight my footprint, I can also use my arrow key and look at the footprints and say, gee, does that match what I want? Does that match what I want? I can look at them and see which part matches what I want. There's a part called BAT2 that would be for a battery connector. Here's some caps. Here's a good one. I'll use a surface mount. This line that's going to be on the board would designate where the positive end is. So this is a 2512. That's the same function, right? This is going to be a 1/4 inch by 120 thousandths. I'll tell it OK, OK, and OK. I changed that one. Let's do the same here. I'll come to my Add, Footprint, Browse. I'll come down here a little bit. Here's our C2512. OK, and OK, and OK. Now let's save our schematic. Let's do a design. Update the PCB document. Here it wants to modify all these footprints. I'll tell it execute the changes. Close. I've saved all my changes. All my parts now seem to be correct footprints. So I'm going to do a File, Save All, and that will finish this video. In the next video we'll start talking about placing our parts and how we can route them.